Right, welcome back everybody, welcome back to another video, my first video for the final shape, and it's going to be with a face cam today, so I hope you guys enjoy. Today we are covering an overpowered, absolutely broken, busted, all the adjectives build for Prismatic Hunter. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen what Prismatic Hunters are capable of doing, or have at least theorized what they are capable of doing. Now that I've actually got to play through the campaign and got all the necessary fragments for this build and aspects as well, I'm going to show you guys the true power of the Prismatic Hunter. So what are you actually going to be able to get out of this build? So first of all, you're going to have incredibly high damaging melee abilities that also cause huge explosions in the future when we have class items, and then you're also going to have massive damage resistance, constant healing. You're also going to have a constant overshield, a permanent 25% bonus to weapon damage in the form of radiant. You also have permanent enemy weaken, wall hacks, and sped up Transcendence energy gains, which will let you spam your Transcendence even more. And that also feeds into other things like artifact mods, which I'll explain later in the video. But yeah, there is so much going on with this build, and I'm going to try and explain it in the best way possible that I can to you guys. So first, let's talk about what goes into the build. Now, starting things off with our Transcendence abilities. Transcendence, for you guys that don't know, is this new form of power that basically accelerates the damage and recharge rate of your grenade and melee, and it also gives you a unique grenade, which for the hunter is the Hailfire Spike. Now, from playing through this in the campaign, this grenade actually isn't that powerful, but you're not going to be using this build for the grenade anyway, so don't really worry about this. The main thing to remember though is that when you are Transcendent, if you deal damage with your melee, it will accelerate the recharge rate of your grenade, and if you deal damage with your grenade, it will accelerate the recharge rate of your melee. So you do have to use them interchangeably, but however, that actually isn't that important for this build because we're using combination blow here, which is going to be giving our melee back with Gambler's Dodge over and over. But just something to keep in mind, getting kills with combination blow will increase the recharge rate of your Transcendent grenade, because that's just how it works. So yeah, don't have to worry too much about the Hailfire Spike. So in terms of our actual abilities, we're going to be going with Golden Gun, because this is by far the best super that you can get for damage on the Hunter Prismatic class. This super is very good on its own, and it also opens up Nighthawk swap potential because, you know, just like normal Golden Gun, this Golden Gun on Prismatic does work with Celestial Nighthawk. Now, we're not going to be using Celestial Nighthawk for this build, but it is something that you can swap to for, say, like a damage phase or something like that. So moving on to our other abilities, we have Gambler's Dodge, which pairs very nicely with Combination Blow. Combination Blow fully refunds our class ability whenever we get a melee kill with it, which just has this loop going backwards and forwards. I'm sure you guys know about the Arc Hunter from, you know, way back when. Very popular Arc Hunter build with Assassin's Cowl just has you using these two, feeding them back into each other, so you never lose either one of them. We also have Grapple Grenade, which on its own is very good for movement and damage because of the grapple melees. So yeah, good movement, good damage from Grapple. Then moving on to the aspects, we have Stylish Executioner. Now, this is probably one of the best aspects on the Prismatic Hunter kit because it has been changed from its Void counterpart, because now getting kills with any elemental debuff will make you invisible. Now, this means you can literally get kills with an incandescent weapon, and the scorch that spreads to other nearby enemies, if you kill them, it will make you invisible. There are so many ways of going invisible with this aspect. All you need to do is scorch, jolt, unravel, make volatile. Any of them work. So you'll be going invisible basically 24/7 with every single status effect that you apply. But this is also where we make our life a lot easier for ourselves by using Winter's Shroud, because Winter's Shroud will slow any enemies when we use our dodge. And because obviously we have infinite dodges because we have Combination Blow, we're going to be dodging all over the place, and we're going to be slowing every single enemy that we get up to. So the slow from Winter's Shroud will feed directly into Stylish Executioner, which will be constantly feeding that invisibility loop. So yeah, I hope you guys are starting to see where this is going. Those are the main things, but the fragments are what really seal the deal. So just so you guys know, these 4 fragments here, so Courage, Protection, Purpose, and Ruin, are already unlocked by default when you start the campaign on your Hunter. However, the final fragment does come from the final mission of the campaign in a secret hidden chest near towards the end of the mission. Now, this clip doesn't contain any spoilers, but basically when you're near the end of the mission, when you're in the room with the sort of war beast statue, instead of going the normal way, take a left and then up in the sort of small room on the left, there is a tiny ledge at the top which you can jump in, take the path, and it will lead you to the chest, and that is what will give you Facet of Sacrifice. So with that out of the way, what do the fragments actually do? Well, Facet of Courage makes it so your Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted by darkness debuffs. Now, our primary darkness debuff is going to be slow from Winter Shroud, because we're going to be dodging everywhere, spreading slow everywhere, so this fragment is basically going to be active 24/7, which means that our melee is going to be doing slightly more damage. I don't know how much damage this actually is because we are so early on into the DLC, but this will be a no-brainer pick anyway, so you might as well have this on. Next up, we have Facet of Protection, which is basically a redo of the Arc Fragment Spark of Resistance, which on the Arc class gives 25% damage reduction when you are surrounded by, I believe, 3 enemies. So if that works the same, an extra 25% damage resistance when you're up in enemies' faces is very good, because that's basically the whole playstyle of this class, is that you're going to be right up in enemies' faces all the time, because it's very close range. You're using your melees for everything. You're basically not going to use your guns at all. So yeah, just a bit of extra damage resistance, very nice. Then we have Facet of Purpose, which makes it so picking up an Orb of Power grants either Amplified, Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, or Overshield based on the damage type of your equipped super. So this is going to give us a lot more healing. I believe the timer is only 5 seconds of restoration, but with the amount of melee kills that you're going to be getting, you're basically never going to run out. Next up is Facet of Ruin, which right now actually won't do too much for you. It basically increases the size and damage of the burst when you shatter a stasis crystal or frozen target, and it increases the area of effect of your solar ignitions. This is going to be more important for the solar ignitions part when we get the exotic class item, because when we get those, we're going to combine this build with the Spirit of Caliban, which makes it so whenever we get a melee kill, it will trigger an ignition, and it will just make them even larger. So this is very good for that. It will improve the damage of any frozen enemies that you happen to freeze with Winter Shroud, which is nice, but a lot of the time this won't happen too often. But this will be better in the future. And then finally, Facet of Sacrifice. This makes it so when you have an Arc, Solar, or Void buff, your ability final blows give you more Darkness Transcendence energy. And because a lot of this build focuses around getting kills with your light ability of Combination Blow, you're not going to be generating a lot of Darkness Transcendence energy. So to offset that, this is why we have Facet of Sacrifice to build up that part of the Transcendence meter. Now, if we move on to the weapons and armor, you're going to want a 1-2 punch shotgun in your kinetic slot. It doesn't matter if it's strand, kinetic, whatever. All it needs is 1-2 punch, because that's going to improve the damage of our melees when we use it with Liar's Handshake. The other weapons don't really matter. I just have Graviton Lance on for any ranged enemies that I need to kill. Maybe the flyers, the sort of new grim enemies. You can't really get into melee range with them because they're obviously above you, a bit annoying to melee. And then we just have a sword, or you can do this, you can use Edge Transit combined with the other mods in the artifact for the Void, so it doesn't really matter here. The main thing is just have a 1-2 punch shotgun. So moving on to the armor, the main thing is going to be Liar's Handshake. So this is going to give us the cross counter perk, which makes it so using your Arc melee ability or being hit by a melee attack will allow you to follow up with an extremely powerful melee counterpunch that will heal you. So this is actually a 200% bonus to our melee damage. This will be on our second hit. I'm sure you guys have used Liar's Handshake before, but that second hit will deal 200% increased damage. However, this is reduced to only an 80% bonus when you are using a shotgun with 1-2 punch. However, 1-2 punch is a 2x damage multiplier, so 2x multiplied by 1.8x is still more than 3x. So having the 1-2 punch shotgun, even though the Liar's Handshake multiplier is reduced with it, is still better than just having Liar's Handshake on its own. So yeah, that's basically it for the weapons and armor. The main things to consider are just a 1-2 punch shotgun and Liar's Handshake. When we do get the exotic class items, what I will have to recommend is, instead of using Spirit of the Liar, I would recommend using Spirit of Synthoceps and Spirit of Caliban, because with Spirit of Synthoceps, it will give you 165% increased melee damage, which is more than the 80% that is the reduced version of Liar's Handshake, and that Synthoceps version will stack with 1-2 punch. We are assuming that because that's how it works with normal Synthoceps on Titan, but if there is a different multiplier, we'll just have to wait and see. That's what you would use when you have the class items, but for now we are sticking with Liar's Handshake, but it's basically the same thing. The class item is more of a cherry on top. A lot of the essential stuff is already here and playable. So in terms of stats, you would first have to prioritize Resilience for that 30% damage reduction. After that, do Discipline to get your grapple melee back as fast as possible, and then after that, put them into Recovery or whatever else you want, really. My stats are really kind of weird here. I have 50 mobility and 60 strength. Your recovery stat doesn't really matter here. You're going to have restoration from all of your kills anyway, so you're never going to stop regenerating your health. The main things to consider are resilience and discipline. So now moving on to the mods. Now this is where you can take a screenshot if you would like, but I will also have a dim link to this build in the description, because dim does support prismatic builds now, so yes, that will be in the description, so don't worry. Basically, the mods for this are very simple, and it is also quite a selfish playstyle, but you can swap things around if you want to. So basically, for our helmet, we're going to have double hands on and 1 Ashes to assets. The reason for this is to enable us to spam our golden gun a lot more. Every time we get a kill with combination blow, it's going to give us a little more super energy, and the occasional kills that we get with grapple melee will also refund us more super energy, because grapple melee is obviously a grenade, and having one of these and two of the other is actually a greater received net bonus for super energy than it is having triple of one of them. So yeah, this is just to kind of avoid the diminishing returns. Then moving on to our gauntlets, we have triple heavy-handed, which will make it so we only have a 1 second cooldown on creating an orb whenever we get kills with our melee. What that means is that every kill that we get, we're basically guaranteed to spawn an orb. Then for our chest piece, we just have general resist mods. Could put a charged up on here if you wanted, but I just have resist mods. Then for our boots, again, doesn't really matter. I've just gone for scavengers for my weapons. Yeah, I've just got strand for my sword breaker, and then void if I was using edge transit, for example. The class item is where this matters a lot more. Powerful attraction is the most important mod of this entire build, because a lot of it hinges on picking up orbs. So having the ability to collect orbs in a radius when you do your dodge, and we're going to have a lot of dodges because of combination blow, we're never going to run out of them. Every kill that you get, after you get it and dodge, you're going to pick up the orb that you made from it, which is going to feed into our fragment that gives us restoration, and it's also going to feed into our artifact perks, which I'm going to talk about next. So speaking of, finally with the artifact, I've unlocked most of it with the bounty prep that I've done, but the only important mods to consider here are the column 4 and column 5 mods. You could actually go with threaded blast here in the bottom of the middle column to give your tangles that you create a little more oomph, but not really important. The important ones here are Void Hegemony, which makes it so that when you have a Void or Prismatic subclass equipped, defeating weakened targets provides a small Void overshield. And because of Stylish Executioner, whenever you do a melee ability when you are invisible, it will weaken that target if it doesn't kill it. So when you kill it afterwards, it will give you a Void overshield, which just gives you even more survivability on top of everything else you have, on top of your damage resistance, on top of your restoration, on top of your damage buff. It gives you just even more, you know, why not? Why not have more? And then after that, we have Radiant Orbs, another very important mod. So whenever you pick up an orb, it will make you Radiant, which will give you a 25% damage bonus to your weapons. Now, you won't be using your weapons a lot, but when you come to use them, like your 1-2 punch shotgun on a high health target, for example, this is just nice. It's a 25% bonus that you'll never run out of. And like I said before, because you have powerful attraction, you're never going to need to go out of your way to pick up these orbs. They will be picked up for you when you do your dodge. Next up, we have yet another source of damage resistance in the form of galvanic armor. While you have an arc or prismatic subclass equipped, incoming damage from combatants is reduced while amplified. Now, you're going to be getting amplified because you are getting kills with your arc melee ability. I believe it is around 4 or 5 kills to get amplified, but once you are, you're just going to have additional damage resistance. How much damage resistance? Well, if it's the same as it was before, because this perk did come to us in the past, it is around a 30% damage reduction on top of everything else that you have. So yeah, you basically have the damage resist from galvanic armor and from tier 10 resilience. You have a lot of resist. And then finally, in the final column, I would first recommend having Shield Crush. Now, unfortunately, I don't have the final 12th artifact unlock, but if I did, I would spend it on Transference, but we'll talk about that in just a second. So Shield Crush, when you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or a Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. We don't care about the recharge because it's recharging instantly anyway, but that increased damage is nice. Then for the second part, while you are Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. So that's just going to increase the damage of our grapple melee even more, because we're going to be Radiant and Amplified all the time. So then with Transference, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this mod all the time, but as you can see here, it says gain increased grenade and melee damage while Transcendence. So whenever you pop Transcendence, you're just going to have a little bit more damage to both of your abilities. Now, admittedly, this build actually doesn't rely on Transcendence a lot. The main thing about this build that makes it so strong is just the fact that you can use all of these different aspects together. Minus the Transcendence, it would still be incredibly strong. You don't even need this part of the build. It's just that all of these different things coming together makes it very, very strong. And also, just one final note, I know some of you may be wondering whether grapple melee and combination blow stack, and yes, they actually do, so I'll just play the clips now to show you the difference. Just our base grapple melee, you'll see here, does 20 and 20, which is around 40,000. So now I have combination blow times 3, and if I do the grapple melee again, we hit for 26 twice, which is slightly more. So normally combination blow is around 300% melee damage on that final stack, and obviously an extra 12% on our grapple melee isn't 300% more. So it's just a bit of different weird scaling. It does do a bit more damage, so just bear that in mind. So basically, in order to show you how strong this is, I'm going to take us through the expert loss sector for the day. Now, I am power level 1971 and the expert loss sector is 2020. So I'm going to be minus 50 levels under it, and you're going to see that even at this deficit, it is very, very strong. Right, so yeah, as you can see, they have skulls on them. So I'm going to make this one weak, and I'm going to melee it. get the combo going. Honestly, the hardest part about this is actually just getting the combo going in the first place. But once you get a couple kills, you're basically there. So I can just get kills on these harpies. Dodge again. Perfectly invisible, perfectly safe. Keep getting melee kills. Another melee kill, why not? Get another dodge. Another melee kill. Another dodge. Another melee kill. It's back to back. Wait for the champion to show up. You can stun him by dodging. Do a little grapple melee. And some cross counters. He's dead. Minus 50, by the way. Minus 50. Pop this. Okay, that didn't crit somehow. It's such a fun loop as well, and you're just rewarded for it with so much stuff. Like, well, I can pop Transcendence, why not? Increase the damage a little of my melees. Slow him. Hailfire Spike, why not? Don't kill me, please. There you go, he's dead. Dodge again. Pop a nade down. My melees. And again. Finish him, just for safety. And I'm gonna go invisible. Punch him. I'm back to full health. Regenning with restoration. Pull off him. Again. Again. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. As you saw in the gameplay there, it's very, very powerful. Even in the minus 50 content, it basically makes it a breeze. It's very difficult to die. So yeah, I hope you guys try this out. Like I said, there will be a dim link in the description. So do go there if you just want to copy the build straight up. And do remember that it's going to become even stronger because of the addition of the exotic class items. As I mentioned earlier in the video, we're going to be looking out for Spirit of Synthoceps and Spirit of Caliban, which is going to make it so our melees do ignitions and do even more damage. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the build, and I hope you have fun with it and abuse it while you still can, because I believe this may end up catching enough at some point, because this is just absurd. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. If you made it this far, thank you so much. Your support means the world. And if you're really into the content I create, consider becoming a member of the channel, which not only lets you support me in the best way possible, it also nets you a whole host of awesome perks along with it. A massive shout out to these members up on screen, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now, dear viewer.